The coronavirus has made its way to the state of Ohio. What cautionary measures DeWine and lawmakers are taking as more and more schools decide to close.
Kent State men's basketball team played Eastern Michigan in the first round of the MAC tournament last night. I'll break down the game in my sports report.
And Bernie and Biden are gearing up to make their case to voters here in Ohio today. But how will the declaration of a statewide emergency affect these rallies? We'll break it down for you.
The past couple of weeks have really been back and forth between winter and spring. Will our weather finally begin to settle down and these temperatures stay up? Stay tuned for my morning forecast. You're watching TV2 News.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Shane Troyano.
And I'm Bella Hagey.
And in Ohio news, Governor Mike DeWine announced yesterday that there are 3 positive cases of coronavirus in the state. DeWine signed an executive declaring a state of emergency and partially activated the State Emergency Operations Center. All 3 cases of the virus are from Cuyahoga County and in their 50s. DeWine said it is important to take aggressive action to protect Ohioans. So make sure to wash your hands for 20 seconds thoroughly and avoid contact to any sick person.
And because of this, Ohio State has suspended all face-to-face classes until at least March 30th. Students will begin taking their online courses next Monday after their spring break ends. This news comes just after 3 cases of the coronavirus were confirmed in Ohio. The university president says he expects more cases of the illness in Ohio and is being proactive in preventing the spread on campus. But the outbreak isn't just affecting students at the college level. Solon High School sent out an email informing parents, students, and faculty about 2 students who were exposed to the coronavirus. The students are staying home in self-quarantine. The high school has not yet canceled classes, but the students were exposed to one of the 3 people diagnosed with the coronavirus in Cuyahoga County.
Also, 4 Hawkins School students who traveled last week to a conference in Washington, D.C. are being self-quarantined for the coronavirus. The students were in contact with the man who tested positive for the virus, and the students who are being monitored, they're also being monitored for fever and respiratory symptoms. In an email from Rabbi Avery Joel sent to the families of the students who had been in close contact with one of the people tested positive with the virus had been asked to self-quarantine until March 17th. The Mid-American Conference men's and women's basketball will go on as scheduled despite the declaration of the state of emergency. The MAC is currently working with the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the local and state health and government officials to monitor the situation for future games. So I'm a little sad it's raining today since it's been so nice these past couple days.
Yeah, I had to go back to my dorm today and grab my raincoat.
Yeah, so let's go back to Demetrius with the weather to see if this rain will last. Demetrius?
Thank you, guys. Good morning, everybody. Currently in Kent, it is a warm 51 degrees. And while you may not have to wear your heavy coat today, make sure to bring an umbrella and a windbreaker because we are going to see some heavy winds and some rain throughout the day. Now, as we look at the rest of Ohio, you can see that we do have some highs in Cincinnati with a 57, but we are pretty high up but we do see some lower 50s up towards Lima and up towards Akron. Now, as we look at the rest of Northeast Ohio around us, we see that we're staying in these mild temperatures in the mid to high 50s, going low in some areas. But as we continue on to our local radar, we do see that this is how it's going to be for all of today. We're going to see this rain come across Ohio, and it's going to be pretty steady throughout the day, pretty scattered in some cases, but there will be we will see that rain stop towards the later evening. Around 5 p.m. when it turns cloudy, we are still going to have that wind. But as the night comes, we are going to see that it's going to be dry, but it will drop down into some cold temperatures. So make sure you put back on your coats later this night. Now, as we look at our 7-day forecast, we do see that while it is going to get a little bit cold, we are going to see the rain. We are going to warm back up on Thursday, go to a high of 61, and then we're going to stay around there until the weekend, where it's going to be pretty mild, some pretty seasonal temperatures with clouds and sun. So it does look like spring is going to be here and better things are to come. That's all I have for you this morning. Make sure to tune back in at 6 p.m. for an updated forecast in tonight's newscast. Only on TV2, I'm Demetrius Hammett.
Thank you, Demetrius. Now, coronavirus precautions do not seem to involve campaign rallies. Some mass gatherings have been delayed or canceled due to the virus, but Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden's Cleveland rallies will continue as planned. Biden says he will look for advice from the CDC in the handling of activities, and Sanders says he will scale back on his campaigning. Sanders' rally will be at the Huntington Convention Center tonight at 7:30 p.m., and Biden's will be at the Cuyahoga Community College Recreation Center at 9 p.m.
And on the topic of elections, a flaw in how delegates are won under Democratic Party rules could make it possible for a candidate with fewer victories to win more delegates. Party rules say each viable candidate wins a proportion of the delegates in each bucket based on the share of the votes cast for the viable candidates in that bucket. Today, 5 states will hold their primaries and North Dakota will hold its caucus, which means 352 delegates are up for grabs. Some dub this the second Super Tuesday.
Moving to more local news, a Kent man has been sentenced to at least 70 years in prison for 6 counts of rape and 3 counts of kidnapping. 30-year-old Emmett Stevens was sentenced Monday after Stevens broke into a woman's home in Kent and raping her several times while also holding her against her will. Stevens must serve 70 years before he can be considered for release. He would be 100.
Also, the Summit County OVI Task Force will be conducting sobriety checkpoints on St. Patrick's Day across the county. The task force announced that it will be conducting the checkpoints on March 17th. It did not announce where those checkpoints will be, but are expected to be released within the next few days.
The global stock market is expected to be back on track after a rough couple weeks from the coronavirus. How the stocks are averaging this week?
Earlier in the season, the Flashes were thrashed by Emu. Could the Flashes find redemption against their rival last night in the MAC tournament? Stay tuned.
And the coronavirus may affect one of the year's biggest festivals. Coachella is scrambling to find out a solution amidst the coronavirus outbreak.
Hey guys, I gotta tell Michaela. What? Oh my gosh!
That you would not believe. What?
Oh my god! What? Oh, the blurb's on at 9 on Tuesdays.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
Global stock markets rebounded Tuesday from record-setting declines after President Donald Trump said he would ask Congress for a tax cut and other measures due to the coronavirus. Welcome back, Portage County. Oil prices also recovered some of their losses. Wall Street is likewise expected to recover from its largest drop in 12 years, with Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 should both be up by 4.2%.
Yesterday, a federal regulator alleged Fifth Third Bank knew its employees were opening fake accounts for customers in order to meet aggressive sales targets. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has filed a lawsuit against the bank in light of this. The CFPB says some fake accounts were actually funded, meaning employees moved money from a customer's account to a new one without their consent. This is a violation of the Truth in Savings Act. And back to the coronavirus, yesterday Billboard reported Coachella and Stagecoach festivals could move to October. The decisions will be made within 48 hours of this announcement. Plans for the events came into question after the first case of the coronavirus was confirmed in Riverside County, where the 2 festivals are held. This news comes after the cancellation of other festivals, including SXSW.
And now, your TV2 Sports Report.
The Kent State men's basketball team faced off with Eastern Michigan last night in the first round of the MAC tournament. Yeah, the Flashers ended up beating Eastern Michigan University last night with a score of 86-76. They played great defensively and they played really good offense. They were hitting threes, knocking down dunks, getting nice clean cuts, and Eastern Michigan really couldn't stop them the entire night. They did pretty well for the most part. Okay. A couple Flashers players spoke after the game late last night. Danny Pippen and Antonio Booman spoke after the game. Yeah, a couple Flashers players spoke after the game. Antonio Booman and Danny Pippen spoke after the win against Eastern Michigan last night.
Everything's something new when you play them because you never really, it's something you really can't practice on. So, I mean, I think we watched film on the first game and we learned like where we could find our lanes at and get comfortable to our spots where we want to be.
Yes, for some people, it'll get the jitters out the way of it being in the first round, and then it keeps the flow of things going. You know, all teams don't have to play today. You know what I'm saying? Some don't have to play the next round, and then you can be sitting down all that time. You know what I'm saying? And then you just get thrown into a game, and the flow might not be there. You know, so therefore it can be a blessing in disguise.
Sticking with hoops, the Kent State women's basketball team is back in action tomorrow against Buffalo at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. The third-ranked Flashers will take on the sixth-seeded Buffalo Bulls, who defeated Miami in a play-in game yesterday. The Flashers have lost their previous 2 matchups against the Bulls, and they will look to bounce back fresh off their bye in the first round. Tip-off time is 7:30 tomorrow as the MAC tourney continues. That's all I have for sports. I'm Matthew Mergen, and make sure to tune in tonight to Jack Burney for your local sports updates. Back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Matthew. Turning to U.S.-based companies after shortages in an overseas supply chain due to coronavirus is not as easy anymore. CNBC reports that about 90% of businesses in China are hit by the coronavirus, and this affects nearly 56,000 companies around the world as China has a major role in international trade. With the first Ohio coronavirus cases confirmed, officials do not know how the disease will affect local manufacturing.
A Streetsboro committee has formed with the goal of creating a new stage to replace the current one at Streetsboro City Park. Conversations about the new stage began at a recent city council meeting. The committee's first main task is to choose a local consultant to advise on the new stage. The director of Streetsboro Parks and Recreation, Director Greg Mittinger, says he hopes a board showing the concept of the structure can be displayed by the next Streetsboro Family Days event.
And thousands of meals meant for an Ohio sports festival will instead be sent to Nashville to feed first responders. Now, the annual Arnold Sports Festival was prohibited from allowing general spectators, and the change left the festival with a bunch of food, but no one to eat it. So the change left the festival with enough food to accommodate the 200,000 people that typically attend and will send those people in need from the tornado. A refrigerated truck will arrive to Tennessee on Saturday. So we will be posting coronavirus updates to kentwire.com and our social media at TV2KSU.
We will also return to the screen tonight at 6 for a live newscast featuring breaking updates. I'm Bella Hagey.
And I'm Shane Troyano. Have a great day, Portage County.
They were on, like for his story, they were on us and you were on your...
Things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Donate stuff, create jobs.